Once upon a time, in a small kingdom, there lived a kind queen and her king. They were happy, but there was one thing they wished for most, a child of their own. One bright morning, the queen made a wish.
I wish for a daughter with red lips, white skin, blue eyes, and long brown hair.
Not long after, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The king looked at her and smiled.
She shall be called Snow White.
Snow White's beauty shone like sunlight, and everyone who saw her loved her instantly. But as fate would have it, the queen became ill and passed away, leaving little Snow White with her grieving father.
My love, how can we go on without you?
Mother, please don't leave us.
Shh, I'm here.
The king soon remarried, and the new queen, Snow White's stepmother, was vain and cruel. She loved only herself and spent hours parading in her beautiful dresses. She owned a magic mirror, and every day she would stand before it and shout,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
The mirror would reply,
It is you, my queen.
The stepmother smiled, proud of herself, while Snow White grew up into an even more beautiful young girl. As Snow White blossomed, the queen noticed something troubling. Snow White was looking so beautiful by the day, and that didn't please her at all. One day, when she asked her mirror,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Snow White is the fairest of them all.
the queen's face turned red with rage. She plotted to get rid of Snow White. She waited until the king went on a long journey, leaving the castle empty. Then she called one of her guards and ordered him, "Take Snow White to the forest, kill her, and bring me her heart." The guard obeyed at first, but as he walked with Snow White through the dark forest, he felt pity for the innocent girl. "Run, Snow White," he whispered. "Never return to the castle." Snow White ran and disappeared into the woods. To deceive the queen, the guard killed a wild boar in the forest and brought its heart to the queen instead. Snow White wandered through the forest, tired and afraid. After walking for a long time, she saw a tiny house hidden between tall trees. Inside the house were 7 small beds, 7 little chairs, and 7 plates. Snow White was exhausted. She lay on one of the beds and fell asleep. When night came, the owners of the house returned. They were 7 dwarfs who worked in the mines. They were surprised to see a young girl sleeping on the bed. They kept staring at her without waking her, but suddenly she woke up. The dwarfs all chorused and asked, "Hey, young lady, who are you?" Then Snow White introduced herself and told them her story. When they heard it, they felt sorry for her and allowed her to stay. From that day, Snow White lived with the 7 dwarfs, cooking, cleaning, and caring for them. Back in the castle, the wicked queen stood before her magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
The mirror replied.
Snow White is the fairest of them all.
The queen shouted angrily, "Where is she hiding?" The mirror showed Snow White inside a small house in the forest, laughing with the 7 dwarfs. The queen's eyes burned with anger. She clenched her fists and said,
If my servant failed, then I'll go and kill her myself!
The queen disguised herself as a poor villager selling ribbons. She walked deep into the forest, searching for the dwarf's house. After a long journey, she finally found it. She knocked on the door.
Buy your beautiful ribbons.
Snow White opened it kindly. The queen smiled and said, "Try this beautiful ribbon. It will fit your dress perfectly." She tied the evil ribbon tightly around Snow White's waist and whispered, "Now you will never be the fairest." Snow White collapsed to the floor. When the dwarfs returned, they met Snow White on the floor and rushed towards her immediately. They saw a ribbon on her waist and removed it immediately. Snow White opened her eyes and gained consciousness. The dwarfs told her, It's most likely that the queen came visiting. They then warned her, never open the door for anyone again in our absence.
Back in the castle, the wicked queen returned to her magic mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? The mirror answered,
Snow White is the fairest of them all.
The queen growled in anger. She drank a glowing green potion and disguised herself as a poor woman selling combs. Once again, she walked deep into the forest to the dwarf's house. Snow White remembered the warning and did not open the door, but she leaned out through the window. The old woman smiled kindly and gently placed a comb into Snow White's hair. The comb was poisoned. Snow White collapsed. Later that evening, the dwarfs returned home.
Hey ho, it's home from work we go. Hey ho, hey ho, hey ho.
They saw Snow White on the floor and quickly removed the comb. Slowly, Snow White opened her eyes. She was alive once again. On reaching it back to her mirror to ask her regular question, the mirror still told her that Snow White is the fairest of them all. The queen was now filled with uncontrollable rage. The next day, she went to her secret chamber and drank from all 5 cups of wickedness. Dark magic twisted her body. She transformed into an ugly witch. The queen poisoned a bright red apple and returned back to the forest. She met Snow White by the window. With a sweet voice, she said, "Take a bite, young lady." Snow White collected the beautiful-looking apple and took a bite from it, but in few seconds, she fell to the ground. This time, she did not wake up. The dwarfs were heartbroken. They placed Snow White inside a beautiful glass casket. On the casket, they wrote, "Daughter of a king." Day and night, they watched over her. One day, a prince passed through the forest. When he saw Snow White, he was amazed by her beauty. The prince gently lifted her body. Suddenly, Snow White opened her eyes. The magic was broken. Snow White told the prince her whole story. They looked into each other's eyes and fell deeply in love. The prince and Snow White prepared for their wedding. The wicked queen was punished for all her evil deeds. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after, and everyone learned this truth: kindness will always defeat wickedness.